Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to a special surprise edition of Encrypted Connections. Normally, we do not. What is going on? Live view comments show up in a StreamYard. As soon as we'll click on a comment shown on screen. I'm not seeing any comments at all, and that's disconcerting. Oh, there we go. Hi, Sonia. Anyway, I'm sorry. Welcome to a special Thursday edition of Encrypted Connections. I have abandoned the normal schedule. I'm not going to restrict myself to just certain days. It's just too restrictive. It's too hard to do. Some guests can't come on those days, and it just becomes a real difficult thing to try to get all the people that I want to come on the show. So whenever they're available, that's what I'm doing from now on. Excuse me. I obviously will post everything onto YouTube. I'll try to get it all posted to the Facebook page and to Instagram page, so you guys know ahead of time. But if you have the notifications on, as soon as I make this link on StreamYard, it will go to YouTube, and you guys will get notified. So make sure you hit the notifications. But tonight, we have, I've only heard a very, very small portion of this man's encounter. And just from that small portion, I've been looking forward to this all week. Listen, I love talking to researchers, to authors, to people like Ron Moorhead. I love it. It's so thrilling. It's amazing. But listening to encounters, especially ones that are like Mike's, this is going to be a treat for anybody who's watching tonight or who watches this later on or tomorrow. It's just from the few minutes I heard, it's crazy already. So, Mike, let me ask you a couple questions first before we get into this. When you were a kid, were you the type who believed in this stuff as a child? Was it talked about at all where you're from, or were there any influences at all when it came to like Bigfoot, cryptids, any of that stuff?
When I was super young, people used to talk about the boogeyman getting you and stuff like that. As far as like young adult and teenager, it wasn't that I didn't believe in it. I was I just didn't pay no attention to it. I mean, it just wasn't on my radar too much. Probably not really too much.
Gotcha.
I mean, I've heard old hunters and stuff back in the day, back in the early '80s, talking about wood boogers and stuff like that. But I just took that as tall tales, stuff like that, pretty much. I just never really paid any attention.
Okay, all right, yeah. So, you'd heard about it, but it wasn't anything that was on your mind regularly. You thought about or watched these TV shows. I ask these questions because I think it's important. A lot of encounters, which I think yours is probably on this scale too. When people don't know or don't have any idea that these beings are out there, these creatures are out there, and then you have this surprise encounter with one of them, it's truly life-changing. And the shock and the awe and the questions that come from it are just it's really hard for people to deal with. I think for a while afterwards, unless they had some really deep interest in this stuff and they knew that they were out there, or they went actively looking for them, then it's different. Then it's like, oh man, I finally saw one. Yeah, cool. But if you don't have this stuff in your head, and you don't have any basis of information about this stuff, then it can be a very traumatizing event. That's why I like to know if people who have these encounters, if they had any influences about this stuff when they were younger. But I'm gonna let you go, man. Can you start in the beginning? Tell us where you were, how it started, and then just give us the whole thing, man.
Oh, without a doubt, I will. It was December 16th of 2020. I'm an avid deer hunter, and I've been all over the United States deer hunting. But down here where I'm from, it's a little different the way they deer hunt down here. Believe it or not, in Mississippi, especially South Mississippi and South Alabama, they use dogs to hunt deer.
Really?
Yes, it's kind of like it's an American foxhound. They call it a walker. What they do is they train a dog on a scent when it's a puppy, and then it's basically like up north what you would consider like a man drive.
Okay.
But they're using dogs to do it. And they circle off an area, and they turn the dogs loose, and whichever way the dogs are going, they can hear the dogs bark, and they'll drive, and they'll get in front of the dogs, and then whatever comes out, shoot it. Yeah, I'm not that kind of hunter. I'm a still hunter. We have that season twice during the whole deer season, and when they have that season, I get out. I get out of town. I don't hunt around my normal spots because it's just dangerous, to say the least.
Gotcha.
A lot of people shot. Yeah, it's very dangerous. So what I'll do is I'll go to the management areas and hunt. And the management areas, the particular one I was at is Leaf River management area. It's in Perry County, Mississippi. It's probably about 120 miles from my house. But I'll go, I used to go spend a weekend up there, and when they was doing the dog hunting here. This management area, the particular one I'm talking about, it's all dirt roads. Well, there's one main road that goes in and out of the whole area, but they have a bunch of little cutoff roads and stuff. And right in front of the game warden station, they have this huge field. I mean, it's huge. When I say it's huge, it's probably 100 yards wide and about 500 yards long. They take care of it. They plant it with ryegrass and turnip greens and da-da-da-da-da. And, when people go up there and hunt it, a lot of people just jack up on the side of the field. Well, I never did that because I got brains. I know that most of the deer down here in Mississippi are nocturnal because of the hunting pressure. Okay. The hunting pressure is so bad that deer don't eat until it's nighttime. It's like they feel safer at nighttime. So what I would do, there was a power line that was adjacent to this field. I would go down about 500 or 600 yards, and I used to jack up. There was a spot, I used to call it the wedge. It's a spot where you can see down the power lines, but you're also only probably about 200 yards behind the field I was telling you about. And what these deer do is they'll lay up during the day, and then when it starts getting dark, well, an hour before dark, they start moving to that field, but they'll never come out in it until it's pitch black dark. I've always had success because I would get a corridor, and I would catch them slipping, going to the field before dark. Is that you or me?
Oh, I think it's my cat.
Cool. That's cool. I was just making sure it wasn't
me. This cat makes an appearance every time I'm live, dude. Every time.
Oh, never fails, huh?
Nope.
So, anyways, I've had a lot of luck in this particular spot because I would catch these deer slipping an hour before dark. A lot of nice bucks and stuff. So, it's December 16th, normal day, just like any other day. Nothing's different. I always get high up a tree because I like to be able to see.
Okay.
I'll get that day I was probably about 30 foot, but if it's a super calm day and the wind's not blowing too bad, I'll get up 40 and 50 foot sometimes.
Wow. All right.
I mean, yeah, I wear a safety harness because if you fall, you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah, it's probably about, I got up there probably 1:30, something like that. It was just a normal hunt, dude. It got to be, this time of the year, it's probably getting dark around 5:20, pitch black at 5:30.
Okay.
And yeah, just a normal day. It gets to be probably right at about 4:25, 4:20, maybe 4:30. I don't know. In that window.
So it was about
I hear
dusk.
it's not quite dusk yet. It's like an hour before.
Okay.
About 50 minutes before it, somewhere around in there. The
Okay.
sun is still up over the trees a little bit.
All right.
I hear something come in behind me. And I mean, I'm facing, this is important. I have to tell you this. I'm facing, the power lines are running north and south. I'm facing west, okay?
Okay.
And whatever it is behind me is coming from the east. And it's heavy, dude. It's really heavy. It's breaking limbs and stuff. I'm not thinking anything, but this is either a monster deer or maybe a hog or whatever it is. It's pretty heavy. It doesn't come in real fast, and I couldn't tell at the time. I wasn't listening for bipedal or anything like that. This sounded, loud and heavy. And I have to remind you that the woods in Mississippi is super thick. When I say super thick, it's like if there's not a trail cut through the woods or something, you're shit out of luck, because if you try to walk through the woods, you're going to get tore up with briar bushes, and the woods will just choke you to death. It's just that thick.
Yeah, we have them up here like that too, man. It's nasty.
Yeah. Every year, like it gets so bad here, they have to burn the woods. Like the state comes in and burns the woods like every 5 years just to knock it down a little bit.
Yeah,
Forestry comes in, and so it gets on the side of me, whatever it is, and it stops. I'm like, huh? And I'm looking, but I'm up pretty high, and I'm on top of whatever it is, but it's just that thick. I couldn't see. I couldn't figure out what it was. That's why I'm hunting on the, pretty, about 50 yards off the power line. But it's like, power lines, they cut it every year. Nothing, dude. It just at first, it's like I heard like heavy breathing, like almost labored breathing. And the first thing I got in my mind is maybe this is a deer or something that got shot, and it's just going to die right on the side of me, because I heard breathing, like heavy breathing, labored.
Let me ask you a question. Thinking about it now, that breathing, similar to a horse?
It could have been. It could have been.
I mean, if you think back on it now, if you ever listen to a horse breathe, did it sound even like a little similar to that?
Yeah, but maybe with some congestion or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say.
Okay.
So I hear it for a few minutes, and I heard the bushes move a little bit, and then nothing. It was just over with. So the first thing I got going in my mind is that was probably a buck that come in, and he probably either seen me up there or he smelled me, and he just snuck out of there to where I couldn't hear him or whatever. He never made it to the power line. That's what I said. Oh, great. Whatever. I still got about, till it's pitch black dark, I got another hour. So I'm sitting, remember, I'm facing west. The power lines are running adjacent, well, right in front of me. Power lines are running, and I've got the field behind me. I've always caught deer crossing that power line going to that field. Keep that in mind. So it gets to be about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes later. I'm looking straight. At this point, the sun is just about over the trees, but the sun is blinding me a little bit. If I look straight west, the sun's blinding me. I have to pull my hat down and all that. Right at the moment that happens, I get something black out on the power lines in my right peripheral vision, about 160, 200 yards out. I'm looking, and I'm supposed to wear glasses because I don't see too good. I didn't even have my contacts in that day. I can't see real good far away. I can see good up close. But I do catch something black in my peripheral, and I looked that way, and it was on all fours at first, and I couldn't make out what it was. It looked like a bear to me though, because we do have black bears down here.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not very popular, but the state has released them and see if they can survive and all that kind of crap. That's what I thought it was, because me being a hunter, I have trail cams out everywhere. Not just there, just everywhere. And I have had black bears on the trail cam. They usually got like an orange collar on them from where the state released them.
Yep.
And that's what it looked like a black bear. So I get the thing in my scope, and it just looked like a little black dot. So I had to power my scope up all the way to look at it. And I got a very nice scope on my gun. I can see a lot farther than 200 yards. So I bear down on it, and by the time I got it in the scope, it was sitting down. It was sitting down, and just something was wrong about it. You know, if you can imagine a bear sitting down, you just put that thought in your head. It looked nothing like that. It looked like somebody sitting down. His knees was up, hands was on the side. He was digging in dirt. Now,
that's not a bear.
Yeah, it's not a bear. His hands on the side of him, digging in dirt. I don't know what he was doing. So I bear down on this thing, man, real good. I've got, like I said, a very good scope, and I got him in there real good where he looked like I can reach out and touch him with my hand from that far away. And the first thing was the hair. The hair was crazy. The hair, it wasn't like bear hide or any kind of animal like that would have an undercoat. You know what I mean? Yep. It was like on his back looked like human hair, like Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue, that kind of hair. Yeah. And another thing I noticed when he turned, he wasn't doing anything. He finally turned his head after a while, and I still got bear in my mind. Okay, still got bear in my mind. But when he turned his head to the side, I didn't get what the features of a bear. There was no snout, no nothing. Just the side of somebody's nose, somebody much bigger than ours, somebody huge. It's still not coming to me what I'm looking at. My mind's going into a million directions, and I just keep looking at his back, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Is somebody out here playing a trick on me? Not a very good idea. Good way to get yourself killed. I've got a million things going in my mind.
And this is this what you're talking about right now. Like when somebody sees one of these things, especially like a hunter, this is such a typical reaction, right? Is this somebody messing around out here?
Yeah.
And or is this a guy in a ghillie suit? You hear it a lot, because sometimes the hair gets all matted and nasty, but the questions come immediately, like, was someone messing around? Is this dude in ghillie suit? And when you get to the point where that you know that this is not somebody, this is not a guy in a ghillie suit, that is a point. That's like the point of no return. That's when you start to kind of almost have a mini breakdown where it's like, or at least a lot of people do, where they're in their head, they're going, am I crazy? am I crazy? Is this possible? Am I really seeing this right now? And then,
Exactly.
whatever happens after that, can change your life forever. But keep going. I want to hear what's next.
So he's sitting on the ground. Every now and then he's turning his head to the side. And he finally turned enough to the side to where I can get like that much of his face.
Okay.
And I seen the nose, I seen the brow ridge, like our nose, hooded like our nose, but the brows, the brow ridge is a little thicker. Face was completely black, like a black guy, but blacker than that. That's when I started freaking out. I'm like, okay, what do we got here? What do we really got here? I'm looking at the sun, and when it gets to be like that 4:30ish, 5:30ish spot, it seems like the sun just starts dropping. And I got it in my mind. I said, whatever this is out here, if that sun goes down, and it gets pitch black out here, I'm going to be out in the woods with this thing, or this person, or whatever it is. Still hasn't really occurred to me what it was. It started coming in a little bit, but I just thought I was crazy to even think that.
Yeah.
Everybody always asks me this every time I tell them this encounter, but I said it loud. I said, "Hey!" And when I did that, all in one motion, imagine yourself sitting on the ground, okay? And you're at a seated position with your knees in front of you and all that. And you got to go to your feet. You're going to probably roll to the side a little bit and come up and all that. He didn't do that. He popped straight up.
Yeah. Yep.
He popped straight up, just like something out of a movie, out of a comic book. And when I did that, he started circling. It's like an oval. It's probably about a 30-yard oval that he was doing. He was scanning the trees. He was looking down the power line. He was looking my way. He was looking behind him. He was looking for the source of the sound. And then he screamed. When he screamed, every time he screamed at me about 3 or 4 times during this whole encounter, but every time he would scream, it's like it came from the gut. He would draw from the gut, and when he screamed, the best way I can put it to you, it sounded like an elephant, a lion, and a grown man all combined in one. It would hit you in your chest, and it would just rattle your insides every time he did it. And that's what he did. He screamed.
That's a really good description, actually.
Yes. When he screamed, he was like he was lost. He was, like didn't know what it was. So he faced me, and he starts looking up in the trees, and he stops as soon as his eyes meet me. He stops. He sees something, but he doesn't know what it is. Because I'm camoed out, dude. We're talking about face paint. We're talking about everything. That's the way I roll. It was just like that. He started looking at me, and then when he looked at me, it was like he didn't know what it was. And I just looked at him again. I said, "I'm right here, dude. I'm right here." I got my gun ready, put my gun back on him, and he walked straight to me. 160 yards, give or take. It took him no time to get there. Imagine walking a football field and a half and then some change. It'll take you a minute.
Yeah.
This guy was here. I had enough time to look down at my gun and unbolt a shell to make sure I had one in there. Just to make sure I didn't dumb up and not have one in the chamber. Just to make sure I had one in the chamber. And then I chambered it back, and I looked, and he was right there.
Man, yeah, that's fast. Did you happen to see, was he running, or you were focused on loading a round in the chamber, huh? So you probably didn't really take a look at that moment.
I seen him walk a little bit before I looked, and the way he walked was just so paranormal. It's just silly. It looked like best way I can describe it, it looked like the motion he was making when he was walking is like compared to somebody on like snow skis. It's almost like he was gliding.
Yeah, that's such a typical description of what these things move like, and a lot of that has to do with their skeletal structure and their musculature. So uh, uh, we walk completely wrong. We do not walk the correct way. Uh, we walk with a straddle step, and we kind of vault over our hips and our knees, and that's why we end up needing hip replacements and knee replacements. These things walk so perfectly. They walk the way they're supposed to, one foot in front of the other, and in such a very smooth motion. It's like you said, it's like they're gliding, it's like they're floating, it's like they're on a conveyor belt. I mean, it's the craziest thing, man. Craziest
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. Almost like an escalator, but going
Yeah.
straight.
Yep.
Yeah. So he gets to me. He's 30 yards away. This guy had no fear. You know, you hear stories about, oh yeah, I seen one and it ran and it did this. This guy, you know, because a lot of people think that, you know, they don't want to be seen, so they're going to get the hell out of there. And a lot of encounters I've seen that I think are real encounters, you know, the ones they have on video, it's always them going away
Mm-hmm.
or getting out of dodge.
Yeah.
This guy came to me.
And you had a
To me.
gun in your hand.
Had a gun in my hand. He gets
That's
30 yards from. He gets 30 yards from me. He stopped at the power line and he looked at me and then he walked up to my tree, but he only got about 30 yards away. And it was just crazy, man, because I put my gun on him, and every time I drew down on him, he would turn his head to the side like this, and he would look at me with one eye. It was almost like he was telling me, "Don't you do it, don't you do it." Oh man, it's about to get good. I tried to look at him through the scope, and he looked like a big old black blob. So I had to power my scope back down and get it to the correct yardage, something up close. That's when I got to see him real good, man. He was just sitting there looking at me the whole time. I mean, just like he was looking into my soul, just staring at me.
Confused looking, like he had no idea what you were, what he was staring at this moment.
Almost, I want to say he was doing the same thing that I was doing. He was like, "What? WTF? What is this?" So I started looking at him real good, and I could see his hair. Hair is just like I explained it. Even on his chest, it was the same way. The only thing that was a little different was the top of his head. The top of his head was short and spiky, like a gorilla, but he did have the conical shape of the head. I mean, it didn't go up until like a real huge point, like, you know, but it was there. It was there. And it was a stare off, dude, for a long time. I mean, I never took the gun off of him. Every now and then I would look up over my scope and I'm like, am I really looking at this? It was like that for a long time. I never seen his feet through the whole thing. Not that I was looking for his feet. I was pretty much here. It was like like I said, it was like he was looking into my soul. I could see his facial expressions, just like a human, dude. Just like a human.
Were his eyes? You see any whites in his eyes?
Nope, no whites in his eyes. His eyes were black and round, little almond shaped, not completely round, but like the color of a shark. And I don't know if that's something protective that they use during the day because of the sun. I don't know if their eyes are sensitive to the sun. I don't know. But from what I can see, it looked like he had two black almond shaped marbles in his eyes. No whites at all. Okay. Cold stare, looking into black eyes. Without a doubt. His facial features. He didn't have a whole lot of facial hair, believe it or not. His brow ridge was really pronounced. He had a little facial hair. He didn't have a stash or nothing like that. I mean, but he had a little bit. He had a little bit of a goatee-looking thing going on. But his skin, the face on his skin was. I mean, the skin on his face was way different than like the rest of his body. It looked like somebody painted his face black, basically.
Okay.
His skin was ashy gray. Yeah, this guy needed some lotion, big time. His arms. Oh my God, his arms. His fingertips went past his knees a little bit. You can tell that his arms were exaggerated long, Didn't make sense. When he first walked to me, that's when it hit me. I said, okay, this is what everybody's talking about. This is a Sasquatch. This is it. This is what one of the Bigfoot guys or whatever. And I never paid any attention to it. So we're facing, it's just pretty much a face off. I've covered his whole body. I even looked at his hands. His fingernails were broken off. I don't know if they bite them off or whatever. At this point, I think I'm just about clinically insane at this point. Start looking at the sun again.
Typical reaction. People think that instantly, I think, in these situations, because it's you're staring at a monster. You're looking at something that you've been told your whole life does not exist, right? By most people anyway. And the people who do say they exist are called crazy. So you're led to believe that they don't exist. And so when someone sees one for the first time face to face, especially as close up as you are, the shock that your brain goes into, you just can't process it. It's impossible for it to process it in that moment that, what you're seeing is real. Everything about these things shouldn't be real as far as we're taught. The size, covered in hair, looks human but not human, walks upright. I mean, just everything screams, this can't be possible. But it is.
Yeah. So I start looking at the sun again. That's my main concern. I start looking at the sun again, and I know it's going to be dark, pretty damn soon. He yawns. This thing is looked at me so long, and he's not going anywhere. He's not backing up. He's not going about his business. I'm thinking this guy's going to wait till it gets dark, and he's going to come up this tree, or he's going to knock me out of the tree. He's going to do something. So I have to make a choice. But I didn't want to push anything. I'm shaking. I mean, as close as he was, I could have killed him, no doubt. I could have. A 7mm Magnum's that's nothing to play with.
Yeah,
that's what they hunt elk with and moose.
It's nothing to shake a stick at.
Right. I mean, and at that close, I mean, it'd have been ridiculous. But there was one point he yawned. It was like a yawn that he did. And when he yawned, that's when I really got to see how big his mouth was. His mouth was huge, man. He didn't have like big lips. Just his mouth was just big. When he yawned, you can see all the teeth in his mouth. All his teeth were square like ours. I mean, not exactly like ours. More like a horse, but even bigger than that.
Yeah.
Square, but they were wider. I didn't see any fangs or canines. Some people say they got them. Maybe he had them and they were broke off. I don't know. He did that a couple times. I'm trying not to leave anything out. That's why I'm pausing.
It's okay. It's okay. The yawning is crazy to me, right? So that's like this guy hung out long enough where he was like, all right, I'm getting bored of this. And now I got to yawn. It's just
Or I
crazy,
don't know if
man.
or if that's just something they do.
Yeah,
You
who
know, all
knows?
I,
That more questions, man. Every time you dig into this stuff.
I remember the inside of his mouth too, like seeing like when he would yawn.
Yeah.
I had him in basically the whole time. When he yawned, it was like even the inside of his mouth was black like his face.
Okay. Interesting.
It was weird. Yeah, it was weird because he wasn't like his hands and stuff were like they were dark. I mean, they were dark brown, almost black, but his face was pronounced black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Almost, it's almost like he painted him. I mean, I know he didn't paint it, but that's just what it looked like. Huge forehead on him too, and his brow ridge. That's when I first seen his brow ridge. I said, yeah, there's something to this because no human has a brow ridge like that.
Nope.
And he had the high cheekbones too, like a Native American.
Then now let me ask you a
So
question. Did he look more did he look more human, more caveman, or more ape if you had to pick?
to me, like the top of his head and everything said everything about a gorilla, but his face said more to me about a mix between a Native American and a Neanderthal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it. So it's getting crunch time. I got to make a choice on what to do.
Sure.
So I said, it's obvious this thing's not going to leave. He basically has me stuck up this tree. I got to get out of here because if it gets dark, I'm not going to be able to defend myself. I got a flashlight, but it's not going to be enough in these vast woods. If he doesn't kill me, I'm going to probably end up getting off trail and getting lost somewhere. I got to make a decision.
Right.
I said, if I shoot one in the air, it's liable to piss this thing off, and he's just going to come up the tree and do whatever he's going to do.
Right.
So I basically put the crosshairs right on his forehead, a little bit down, almost between his eyes. I took that last breath, man. You know, the last breath before you take a shot, you exhale, and then you just squeeze the trigger. I did all that, and I got about halfway through the squeeze, and I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
Too human looking.
Humanity kicked in. He was too human looking. I said, if I kill this thing right now and get out of here, I don't know if this thing is, like a government project or whatever the hell it is. Some Area 57 kind of stuff. I don't know what it is.
Right.
I might go to jail for life.
Right.
I didn't know what it was. Yeah, I pretty much knew I was looking eye to eye into a Sasquatch, but I just couldn't pull the trigger, man. He wasn't threatening me enough to where I had to do that. I know I needed to get out of the tree, and it would be very dangerous if I didn't get it out of that tree. I just couldn't squeeze off on him, man.
That's that's something that you hear often. Hunters, people ask this question to hunters who find these things or see these things in the woods, and they have the opportunity to take a clean shot, right, with a high-powered weapon that would probably put down an elephant. And people go, well, why don't these guys shoot them? Then we could prove they're real. It's the same thing that I say to people that when they go, why didn't this person take a picture when they saw this thing? You know why? Because until you're in that position,
exactly,
I beg you to be in that position where you're staring one of these things down, and you didn't know that they were out there, you didn't know they existed, or you didn't have a belief that they did, and now all of a sudden you're looking at this monster. I would love for those people to tell me the first thing that they think about doing is grabbing their camera, or when they're looking into these things' eyes and you see the emotions, you see the thought process There's something behind those eyes. It's not just dead air. There's something in there. It's sentient. It's thinking. It's feeling. You can tell. And then tell me that you're going to shoot him. Most people won't, because who the hell wants to be a murderer?
Exactly. So I couldn't squeeze off on him, and he's still doing the same thing he was doing. Every time I bear down on him, he turns his head to the side, giving me the look. You better not do it. You better not do it. This, that, and the other. Couldn't squeeze off on him. So just out of pure panic, I laid my gun on the side. I stood up in my tree stand and I put my hands up in the air. I said, "What the F do you want?" When I did that, things changed.
Oh boy.
When I did that, he come from his gut. Just like these screams I've been telling you about. But he was close enough. I got to see him scream. And I hope to God you or nobody else ever has to see that in your whole life. Because the way they do it, or the way he did it at least, is enough to put anybody in a mental hospital. When he screamed, he come from the gut. And when he let it loose, his whole face, his eyes, his nose, everything, his teeth protruded to the front of his face and then went back to normal. Something out of a comic book. Made no sense at all. Like it looked like when he screamed, like his face was melting. His teeth and everything come out and then just suck back to normal.
I wonder if that's like, because the power with how they scream, right? And then the ability to change their energy vibrations, somehow that
making his face look deformed, like distorted and just protruded to the front and then just sucked back when he was done screaming. Like, I mean, I can't explain it.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. When he did that, he got back on all fours and ran across the power line onto the other side. A lot of people said, well, what did it look like when he ran? I think I told you on the phone the other night, when he ran on all fours, it looks like a Lurpy. Like if you ever see a Great Dane run, you know how it looks stupid, Lurpy? That's what it looked like. Yes. It didn't look orthodox at all. He gets to the other side of the power lines and he starts screaming again. But now he is ripping gallberry bushes up out of the ground, roots and all, and chunking them out in the middle of the power line. He's knocking trees down. And when I say trees, he's not like knocking down like full-grown pine trees. It's little trees, but he's knocking a lot of stuff down. So remember, I'm facing west. He's going west. He's across the power line. He's ripping stuff up. But he starts going north. On the other side of the power line, and at this time I got my, I'm standing up in my stand. I got my gun. I'm like, head on a swivel. I'm like, where's this guy going to come out at? He was raising hell for about another 5 minutes, but he probably got about 60 yards north, and then I just seen like a flash of black come back across the power lines on my side, but behind me this time, further north. And he's yelling and he's breaking stuff and just raising hell. And I'm surprised I didn't soil myself, dude. I didn't. But he's raising all kind of hell, but I know he's just going further north, and that's good. And I finally heard something break way out there, probably close to 100 yards. When I heard that, I come out of that stand. And let me remind you, I'm in one of them hunting stands that it's a tree climbing stand. You got a platform and you have a bottom piece. You actually climb the tree with it.
Sure.
I'm in one of them. Yeah, it was a summit stand. And usually when I get 30 foot, it usually takes me about 20 jacks to get up. 22 jacks. I was down in 10. I left my book bag up there. The only thing I did when I jacked down is I took the strap of my rifle and put it behind me. That way I didn't beat my gun to death coming down. I come down in 10. When I hit them power lines, I was running, man. I was running. I still had enough daylight. I mean, the sun had done set, but it's in them periodic moments where you still got a little light left. You can still see pretty good on the ground.
Sure.
But it ain't gonna be long. Yeah. I'm running down the power lines. I mean, running, full adrenaline, and I get whooped. You know, I'm 600 yards from my truck, give or take.
It's a long ways.
So, yeah. So I went from running as fast as I can to a fast walk, super fast walk. I'm whooped. I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack. I can't really breathe that good. My heart's beating out of my chest. I stop for a minute. I start running again. When that happened, I start hearing something about 30 to 40 foot in the woods on the left of me. Every time I would stop, it would stop. I'd take a couple steps, stop. It would do exactly that and stop. Like it matched me foot for foot. And I thought it was him. But then I started hearing him raise hell again, way back there. So now I got something else on the side of me. At first, I'm thinking, there's no way he made it this far without me knowing anything. Because and when I heard him raise hell back there, that assured me I was right. So I said, screw this. I started running again. And I'm talking about, you can hear it on the side of me, dude. I'm running as fast as you can hear it, just keeping up with me. So just beating the woods down right next to me. There's a point on this power line. It's about the halfway mark from my stand to the truck. There's like this little plateau, or like almost like this little island that comes out on the power line, but it only goes like halfway to the power line through it. You know, it doesn't go all the way across. I know the plateau very well. I start getting closer and closer to this plateau, and there's a point where it has to come out, whatever it is, because of the way the woods is shaped. And it's just moving in closer and closer and closer and closer. Finally, I stopped and I shot a shot in the air. I mean, a cannon, son. When I did that, everything stopped. You know, they say, like, when there's a Bigfoot around, everything stops.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't experience that when I had him around, but when I shot that gun, everything stopped. I mean, it was...
It's surprising to me, a couple things. Number one, that you had a gun this whole time, and this creature still decided to come towards you and have this face-off for, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. To have that little fear, I mean, really no fear to do that, and then you fire a shot in the air and it goes silent. What you normally hear is the complete opposite. Is that when there's a gun involved, they're pissed, they're angry, they don't like them, and they usually put on a display of some real aggression. And a shot fired, that can be a real dangerous thing with these things. But I do believe that they're not programmed to be violent. I believe that they're passive by nature. I think that they only get violent when they need to. I'm sure there's rogue ones out there that are grumpy and they're miserable and they're pricks and they're probably violent, but I don't think it's a normal thing for these creatures to be violent. But I think when a gun's involved or weapons involved, it's like it would be just like us, If a guy's got a gun and he's threatening my family, I'm doing whatever I got to do. You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So everything got quiet. I'm not sticking around to figure out why everything got quiet. I start running again. And when I start running, nothing's following me. Nothing. It's just I'm running. It's dead silent. I'm running. I finally crest a hill, and I don't see my truck. All I can see is the top of my truck. Just the very top of it, way down there still to go. And when I seen the top of my truck, buddy, I caught another gear. I mean, I went into overdrive. I went into afterburn. I get to my truck, and I got a voice in my head. You know, my conscience is telling me, Mike, get in your truck and leave. Don't sit around and listen to nothing. Don't let the curiosity get the best of you. Get out of here. You got lucky. Da 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 da. Which I listened. But when I stuck my key in my truck to unlock it, I got one last scream. And yes, way off, way different. I don't know if it was what was ever following me or if it was old boy way back there, but this one was different. This was a lot like what Carrie Arnold said. It was more like it was different. It was like a draw up, but it was like somebody cracking a whip. It was like a baboon screech, just like what he used to say. Yeah, sounded exactly to the T like that. Like
now, you said something to me too, that your encounter was not far from where his was.
We looked at it together one time. Well, I've never met the man in person, but we just Google Earth. Probably about 50 miles, 40 miles as the crow flies. One county over. Mine was in Perry County and his was in Covington County.
40 miles is nothing. Nothing.
Right.
Not for something like this.
Right.
I want to go back to when you were face to face with this thing from the tree stand, and he was 30 yards from you. I want to see if you can really describe what you saw. Start at the head, work your way down. The shape of the head, the eyes, what the hair looked like, all that stuff. Can you give us a full detailed description? All right.
The hair, like I said, his facial hair, he didn't have a whole lot going on. Like I said, he had like a little scruffy stuff going down on the bottom. And, he had a little bit on his sides. But, I mean, his face was pretty bare, dude. And what I can't stress enough is how black his face really was and how thick the skin on his face really was. It was like leather almost.
Yeah.
His eyes.
Hear that often, too.
Yeah, his eyes were they weren't completely almond shaped, but they had a little bit. They were round, but a little bit almond shaped. His eyes were solid black, like Jaws, like a great white. Just black eyes, like you're scaring. Like when you look at him in his eyes, it was like he was staring into the abyss.
Yeah.
Barrel chested, huge guy. Tree trunk for a body. Definitely a male. I'll leave it at that.
I'm happy to know that I'm not the only one who got a good look at Bigfoot's junk.
Yeah, it was there. The hair on his legs wasn't as thick as like his upper body. Like you can see, like his quads and stuff. You can see his quads really good. You can see the muscle definition in there. His skin on anytime you would look through his hair to like look for like muscles and stuff like that. I mean, his skin was just so ashy gray. It was weird. His his forearms, his hands went down past his knees a little bit, top of his fingers. But his fingers were just, oh man, huge, like banana hands, huge.
Yeah. Yep.
His biceps are pretty big, but his forearms were just as big, or maybe bigger. He didn't look real, man. He didn't look. I mean, of course he was real. It just, when I was first looking at him, I'm like, what am I? What the hell, Oh, they got ears. A lot of people say they never see ears. Every time he would turn his head, when I draw down on him, he'd turn his head and look at me. He had a ear sticking out. But what's funny about it is his ears, their head is way bigger than ours.
Yeah.
But their ears is like the same size and look just like our ears. His ears were just black. Well, but it doesn't look right because his head's too big. His head is too big for how small his ears are. And these things do have a neck. Everybody says, "Oh, they don't have a neck. It's just a head just popped on." That's not it at all. They just have so much going on up in their in their shoulders and stuff. It's so big it hides all that. They got a neck. There's no way he would have been able to, turn his head and do this and do this. You got to have a neck to do that.
Sure, absolutely.
Let me think of something else. The hair on his forearms was weird too. That's where it got like ghillie suit looking. Like the hair on his forearms was long. It was super long. It's almost like he had a costume on. Yep. Never got a chance to see his feet. I wish I would have, but I was just. It wasn't like during this encounter. It wasn't like I was Jacques Cousteau and I'm like trying to make out everything on this guy because I'm scared for my life.
Yeah, you were in shock. Yeah.
It's hard. I was in shock.
It's very difficult to recollect these things. Years is 2 years ago, and I'm sure it's still extremely difficult. And 30 minutes is a long time to see something, to be able to take that stuff in. But people don't understand what happens when you're faced with something that's so emotionally and psychologically traumatic. Your brain and your body don't function the way that they normally do, right? You get this rush of adrenaline. You get this rush of I forget the other hormone. Damn it! But this other hormone, right? So, and they're kind of competing things. Then you also have the nerves and the fear on top of all that. It's literally like things are going in slow motion and fast forward at the same time. It's almost like an out of body experience because you just don't you know what's going on, it's there, but you feel like you're not even physically there because there's so much going on inside of you at the same time. I remember the feeling of the heat, the when the blood just rushed to my skin instantly.
Oh yeah.
Then that feeling of people laugh, but that feeling of you ever played hide and seek and you knew someone was getting close to you and you feel like you had to pee so bad. That feeling. I know it's crazy sounding, but it's this is a biological reaction to something that you don't control at that point. And to be able to try to take all those details in this type of moment or moments is so incredibly hard. You're doing a great job, though.
Thank you. And you're going to have to forgive me. I left something out.
No, it's okay.
When he was walking to me, when I first gave him my position, when he was walking to me,
yeah,
he was talking.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. Yeah, what did that sound like?
Like what everybody says, like the Tasmanian devil. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't talking a lot, but he was talking.
You
That's
know,
when I started.
it's funny because there were two different vocalizations that we heard on that day, all those years ago, and one of them sounded like what you're talking about.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and then the other
Oh,
one sounded almost as if it was breathing in while it was trying to say something.
yeah. How long ago
Really?
was that?
That was 1994. So,
Holy crap!
long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
What are we in 2022 now? So what's
yeah,
that? 30 years almost?
yeah.
Yeah. 28 years.
20
Yeah.
years.
Man.
Oh, you must have been a little kid back then.
14, man.
Yeah, yeah.
14. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Old enough to know what's going on,
Yeah.
but still young enough to where it really did a number.
Oh yeah. At that age, that'll really do a number on you.
For sure.
So I get to my truck, and the road that I was hunting off of has a cul-de-sac. You got to drive down about 2 or 3 miles and it has a turnaround. I wasn't doing that. That wasn't happening. I wasn't gonna pass back by this place. I backed in the ditch, just about got my truck stuck, but I got out. And like I said, this management area is nothing but dirt roads. Okay, not the best of dirt roads either. Plenty of holes, plenty of crap like that. They fixed the management area pretty nice, but they don't do crap for the roads in there.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, every corner I'm fishtailing, my back end swinging around. I'm doing all that. Dukes of Hazzard. It probably took me about 15 minutes to get out of the management area. And once I hit blacktop, 100 plus home, man. 100 plus. It usually takes me an hour and a half to get there from my house. I was there in under an hour. 50 minutes.
Jeez.
Right. And I got home, and the whole I can remember I had to. This is the winter time too. Remember, it's down here in the south. It doesn't get cold like where you're at, but it's in the 40s, the 30s and the 40s. And I am driving home. I completely stripped my shirt off to nothing. I'm profusely sweating with the AC on. And it's 30-something degrees outside. I get home. I grab my gun. I put it on my bed. I stripped down and went to the shower. Full blast cold, and just laid there in a fetal position for about an hour. When I got out, I put my clothes on and I just laid on the couch. And I do remember waking up the next day and being like, God, that was just a dream. That was just you're just going through something in your life right now, and it's a dream telling you this.
Sure.
And I got up and went to my room, and I seen my gun on my bed, and then I knew it wasn't a dream.
Did you have after this encounter? Did you have any night sweats or really bad nightmares of any kind?
Oh yeah, I've had night sweats. I've had bad dreams, waking up screaming. I've even had it so bad to where insomnia. It gave me insomnia really bad.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've heard this a lot, actually.
There was a bunch of times I would have to take medicine to go to sleep.
Yeah, that's tough, man. That's tough.
It was really bad, probably about the first 2 months. But then I started looking at stuff. I started, I didn't know where to begin with all this, and I started looking online about it. I never could find any real good things online too much. YouTube is what got me where I'm at now. My first months and months later, I finally reached out to Wes Gurman.
Great guy.
Yeah. I wrote him. I hit him up on Facebook Messenger. I didn't email him or nothing like that, but I just pretty much gave him a quick run through my encounter. I didn't tell him everything. And like the next day, the next day he's like, "You got to come on the show." So I came on the show and did my encounter and everything. And he told me, he said, there's a guy in Mississippi that y'all's encounters kind of similar, not exactly similar, but that was Carrie. And he says, "I'll get in touch with him for you." I said, "Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like to talk to him, And then I listened to Carrie's encounter as soon as I got off the phone with Wes. I was blown away, man. Blown away.
Yeah.
But when my encounter aired on Sasquatch Chronicles, Carrie heard it. And he went through Wes and got my phone number.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys had many similarities, not to mention the fact that you were only 40 miles away as the crow flies. That's a hop, skip, and a jump for something that the physical abilities that these creatures have, not to mention the other abilities that they have. And then the behavioral characteristics that you both saw. Did you ever...
Yawning.
Yeah, right. Did you ever discuss if you thought if maybe he thought it was the same creature?
We have. We didn't think it was the same creature, exactly the same one, but we come to the conclusion that it could have been some one out of the same clan for sure.
Okay. All right.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was. I don't know.
I mean, it's just that it's hard to say because you both have your own encounter and you both have your own memories of what happened. And for like we were just talking about, this is it's so difficult. It's like, imagine yourself in a situation where it's life or death, right? Someone pulls a gun out in front of you, and it's pointed at you, and they're threatening you, and then all these things are going on around you at the same time. In that moment, try to think about how hard it would be to take in all the details of what's going on. It's just so hard, man. And then to recollect them later, when you finally go back to your safe place and you're kind of decompressing finally, and you're trying to process what happened and trying to deal with it the best way you can over the coming days, weeks, months. It's hard. I think that for a lot of people, it's as more time goes by, when they finally get past that initial stage of shock and that real deep acute trauma, then they're able to start remembering certain pieces better, right? And the more time that goes by, the more that they recollect a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more.
It took me a hot minute to get everything to where I can explain everything.
Yeah, I believe
it. Because I didn't remember everything. But, I mean, I think I pretty much got it down now. But I mean, maybe something else later. Who knows? Where was we at? I know where I wanted to get at. Hunting my whole life. Now the things that I know even stuff that didn't happen to me in my encounter, just hearing other people's stuff. You
Yeah.
know, the tree knocks, the whoops, the talking. I've heard that all my life, honey. But I just always pawned it off on something else. Like the whoops is some kind of nocturnal bird. Um, the knocking could be some douchebag out in the woods trying to hunt over me. Um, the talk could just be people in the woods, you know, just they're just that far away from me where I can't make out what they're saying. I've heard that my whole life, and let me tell you, I've been out in the middle of nowhere where nobody's at.
And heard these things.
Yes,
Yeah.
I heard a baby cry a long time ago.
In the middle of the woods.
Middle of the woods, like like an infant, like where it doesn't even sound like it's more like just a screech. You know, kids are when they're real little. They just
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
I've heard that.
Well,
Now,
these things I believe, right? Because I can't say for sure, but I believe, like a lot of people do, that they have the ability to mimic just about anything, and almost perfectly. Um, it makes you wonder, especially when you talk about like the scream that this thing did, where it was like three noises in one. Makes you wonder if they have some sort of the vocal cords, if they have maybe two sets, or where they're able to make multiple noises at one time. Um, I don't know.
they come on, man. I always tell everybody, man, that I talk to. These things for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, are God gifted.
Yeah.
And
I believe that.
you know, a lot of people they say, well, you know, that Sasquatch hasn't even made it to the the air. They haven't made it to where they can make like tools and stuff. What is that called?
Um,
You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, where they start to use tools, build fire, all that kind of stuff.
It doesn't, but they don't need to.
No, they don't. they, they're literally perfectly adapted to their environment. They what do they need anything extra for? And this is why I believe that they have the abilities they have. I say this over and over like a broken record, but it's because I truly believe it. When I think we were all gifted these abilities. I think we all have the potential to be able to do these things inside of us, just as they are. But because they have never had to rely on outside sources to do things for them, they don't have to rely on computers. They don't have to rely on microwaves. They don't have to rely on, the warmth of a home and a fireplace. Everything that they do is connected to the earth, and then that connection goes back to them. And when you are so in tune with everything around you, and including yourself, I think the possibilities of what you could do are pretty endless. Einstein said if we could use all of our brain, we'd be one giant ball of energy.
Yep. And I was talking about the Stone Age. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep, the Stone Age. I've heard these things all my life, and these things have always been around me. I just didn't know what it was. You know, it was maybe the only thing I can come up with is maybe it was there. Maybe it was my time for them to. Maybe there's something about me they wanted me to know that they're there. I don't know.
Well,
Everything's speculation. Everything is speculation.
sure, of course. But it's all important too, to talk about these things. We the other night we had Robin McCrae on, who is sort of like a medium mind. She mind speaks to these creatures or whatever, and she was a child, and um, it, the, I believe that there's something to the like getting tagged by them. I think that once one of them sees you, shows itself to you, has an encounter with you, I think that for a lot of people, for the rest of their lives, these things they start to come around more often. Where you go 30 some odd years of your life, and you never saw one. You never, one was
I
never.
believe.
What's that?
I believe. I believe that I am tagged.
Yeah, I have no reason not to, because you said you had something else happen just a week ago.
Yep, I was just about to get there. Once I had my encounter and stuff, I stayed away from the woods. Like even if I was on the side of the interstate in the woods, it was like cold water washing over me. I was
Mhm.
that way for long. And a couple of years went by, and I went hunting again, but it was always with somebody, or if I have somebody with me, I'm good.
Yeah.
At least I feel better. Well, it just started. I started hunting by myself again earlier this year in archery, and didn't have anything happen. Uh, just like the old day. Head was still on a swivel. So I went to a spot. This happened last week. I'm pretty sure I know what it was, but I didn't have no visuals or nothing like that. But I was hunting in another spot that I'm very, very close to Carrie Arnold's house. Actually, it's not in his backyard, but same county, Pearl River, and it's a place that I knew very well. I used to hunt all the time when I was younger, and I went out there and I scouted it just to see what it looked like in there. It looked pretty good. I knew there was a lot of hogs coming through there. They had a lot of sign of hogs, and it's to be expected because it's really close to the Mississippi River and all that. So I'm like, I'll go deer hunting, and in Mississippi there's no bounty on hogs. I mean, you can kill them. You don't need a license. They're
Yeah.
invasive species. You can kill them all you want.
Right.
So I said I'll go down there and try it out, and I found me a spot and hung my stand and left and came back a couple days, and that crunch time to go hunting. And this is in a bottom. This isn't on a flat land. You have to walk flat land, and you got to get through some stuff, and then you go down into this bottom. Not as far away from my truck either. Probably about 200 yards from my truck. Not too bad. But it was a normal day, just like it was last time. But this time it was just about dark when it happened to me. I started hearing tree knocks. Pop, 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 and then an answer behind me. Pop, 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 pop. I've been watching Bigfoot. I know what this is now. I'm like, okay, here we go again. I still didn't ruin my hunt and get out the tree right away and all that. This is right before the sun went down, and right when the sun went down, right when I was about to get out my tree, I started hearing whistles, and it was the same thing as the tree knocks. I'd hear something whistle in front of me about 60 yards away, and then I would get an answer behind me. I said, I'm coming out. I'm not doing this again. I'm coming out. I had my crossbow with me, but this time, anytime I go hunting, even if it's archery, I keep a 45 in my bag with 3 clips. Probably a good ways up the tree, 40 foot maybe. I got pretty high that day because I was in a bottom and I wanted to be able to see the whole bottom. I get down, I jack down, and as soon as I put my feet on the ground, it's a bunch of dead leaves and stuff. When you put your foot down on the ground, it just crunches, and the whole woods lit up. The whole woods lit up. Just, I had stuff running in front of me, behind me, towards my truck, and to the north of me. It's like the woods exploded. And it didn't sound like deer, dude. It did. I know what it sounds like when deer run off. It's you can hear the 4 legs. It kind of sounds like a little horse running through the woods. No, this was whatever it was. It was big, and it was a lot of them. Whatever it was, I can't say what it was because I didn't put my eyes on it. You know,
Right.
I just
But
don't know what it was. So I get down, and I get my backpack on. I grab my piece. I got my crossbow on my shoulder. I'm walking out, and there's a main trail that goes into that bottom. It's probably about a little bit less than 100 yards away from me. As soon as I make the trail, as soon as I take a left towards my truck, I hear a scream. It was kind of like from my first encounter, but it was different too. It wasn't like long and drawn out. It was just more like just a loud screech, but like it had some power to it, like like just loud though. I emptied my clip, dude, and I know that was probably not the best thing to do because I didn't have sight on what it was. But I'm telling you, I let all 12 go out of my clip, dude. I was that scared. Everything got pretty quiet. So, but this time I didn't run like I did in my first encounter. I was walking with caution to where I can hear because it's so loud. It's so loud coming out of that bottom because all the dry wood and all the leaves on the ground. I wanted to be able to make sure nothing was coming towards me because I got parallel. I wanted to definitely make sure something wasn't parallel.
mm-hmm.
Nothing was. When I was going straight up a hill because, like I said, I had to go into a bottom, and this hill was huge coming out of the bottom from the main trail. And when I got to the top of that hill, same thing to the right of me, but it wasn't a yell this time. It was just like a loud grunt, like almost sounded like a pig, to be honest with you, but a very big one. It was just a deep grunt. Emptied the clip again, dude. Emptied another 12. Everything got quiet. I walked out of there, got to my truck, and hauled ass and got out of there. Now, I don't know what it was. I didn't put my... anytime you have an encounter like I had, anything is going to be Bigfoot to you.
Yeah, well, I know why you say that, but I don't think... I think that it feels that way, right? That it feels like, you're going to think that any weird noise in the woods is going to be Bigfoot. And I don't think that's the case. I think that more often than not, you're going to understand way better just what is normal and what's not now. In that situation where you're having these things go on around you, what those type of things aren't normal. It's not normal noises from a deer. It's not
These
normal noises from a hog or.
These things had weight.
Oh, God, yeah.
It was just, it's hard to say if you can't put your eyes on it. I know what it was, but I'm just trying to clarify for your audience what I heard because there was not, I wasn't seeing anything. I had a little rinky-dink flashlight in front of me that probably shines 10 feet in front of me,
Right. Yeah, so you can't see anything past a few feet.
And that
I don't think the flashlight would matter anyway, to be completely honest with you. I think you have a 3,000 lumen light out there, and they can make all the noise in the world and still stay completely hidden.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And the scream I got, it was loud. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't a long, drawn out, like from the first encounter. It was probably 3 seconds, but it was a scream for sure.
Yeah.
And whatever did it had some bass.
Yeah. See, again, I think that, you start to, after you've had an encounter like you had, and then the other things that have happened, you start to be able to break down the data, the things that are going on around you so much better, because you've now gotten to that point where the things that before you would brush off, right? So for a lot of people, their encounters have things being thrown at them, right? Rocks and stuff. Um, and they brush it off. Oh, it's acorns falling out of a tree, or it's some hillbilly meth heads in the woods messing around, or it's some kids or whatever.
Right.
And I think that deep in their psyche, they don't believe it, but because they don't have that basis, that baseline to go off of, then that's what happens. They just go, I don't believe that this was really a kid or hillbilly doing this, but I also can't believe that there's anything else out in these woods that has the ability to pick up a rock and throw it. Because then they would have to admit that there's much more going on out there than we know, and for a lot of people, that's impossible to admit.
Yeah. I honestly think the government knows about these things.
Of course they do.
And it has a lot to do with the lumber companies and stuff and stuff like that. And they will do that.
What's that?
Like if they come out and say that Sasquatch is real to the public, and you're going to have people say, well, the woods need to be protected, and we don't need any more loggers. I mean, hey, I got a buddy of mine. This is a true story. He lives on the coast in Florida. He lives in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
They had a sea turtle that laid eggs under his house, and the government. This is no BS. The government paid him to move out of that house for like 2 months in a hotel until the eggs hatched. He couldn't even stay in his own house.
Yeah, because because those things are super protected, right? They're such a fragile species as it is, and so many of those little babies don't make it. That it's become a huge deal for them. So now, take it a step further. That's an animal, just an animal, right? And I don't say just an animal because I'm downplaying it, because I am a huge animal lover and advocate. But I'm saying in their eyes, it's just an animal. Now, all of a sudden, there's this thing that is probably, most likely, according to the DNA, it's part human. It has human DNA in it. Now, not only does this become oh my God, this is some kind of endangered species too. It's a humanitarian issue at this point. If they protect the pileated, whatever woodpecker and its habitat, or these baby sea turtles, to that extent, imagine what they'd have to do with Sasquatches. And I firmly believe that there are way, way, way more than what most people tend to think the number of these things are. I believe there's probably somewhere upwards of 1 million of them in the United States, and I say that because there may be. You're right. I'm being kind of conservative here, but if you go off of like the number of deer alone, what is there, 300 million plus deer in the United States? And then to think about how long they've been here, right? To have all this time to be able to spread out across the country, across Canada, to find different places to live, and then to mate and start families, I just think it's the numbers could be crazy high, especially when
I think,
when you see where these things are at. Like they're in places people never would expect. Never.
oh yeah, they're all over the world, dude.
Oh yeah.
And who's to say that? I think they're ancient. To be honest with you, I think they were here before we were. Who's to say we're not part of them instead of them being a piece of us?
Yeah. It's possible, right? I know what you're saying. All I know is the DNA studies showed that the mother was human, the father is unknown. That's all the DNA study showed. So when it, science, when there's nothing to compare it to, that's the problem, right? So it's unknown because there's no data, there's no DNA profile anywhere in existence that matched the DNA profile of the father of one of these creatures.
Right. And
Um,
and who, and who's to say some of the DNA that people has been turning in is not being suppressed?
I think 100% it's being suppressed. I know people who've done it. I know people who've turned in DNA to very reputable, you know, labs and professors, and all of a sudden, whoops! I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to it. That type of thing. We thought we sent it back to you, but they never get it
The
back.
the the existence of these things, the explosion of Mount St. Helens says it all.
Yeah.
When the Air Force and the Army had to go in there and dig them out, and then had a live one with them, communicating with it riding in the Jeep with them, and that way it can go to the caves and try to call out some of its people.
Yeah. I don't believe these things are ever alone. Number one, I think there's many. It's just the kind of the nature of it all. If they're part human, we have families, right? Don't we? We generally we thrive when we're in contact with other human beings, and we do things with our family unit all the time for the most part. So it would reason that they do the same things if they have, a good amount of human genetics in them. There's just so many questions, man. The more,
Vast,
what's that?
vast.
Yeah, man. The more that you learn, the more that you don't know. That's what I'm finding out here. It's crazy. Some of the things that I've seen just in the last couple of weeks make me question so much. I had a stick the other day disappear. Like it was leaned against a tree. It was only yards away from us. I picked it up because I thought it was weird that it was leaned perfectly in the middle of this tree, right off this tiny trail that we were on, and we were miles into the woods. And then I went back because we only went a few more yards forward, and then decided to turn around. I went back, and the stick was gone. And then we found it 15 feet from the tree, laid in the rest of the leaf litter and the brush. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Just weird stuff, man. Weird stuff. And this is what makes me believe that there's just so much more going on out there. So much more.
Is it okay if I make an announcement?
Of course.
I'm fixing to start my own YouTube channel.
Oh, right on.
It is going to be called Red Creek Mafia. It's already set up. I don't have anything Sasquatch on it yet. It's basically just hunting stuff and shooting guns and hillbilly shit. But I'm going to turn it into encounter stuff like that.
Right on.
Red Creek Mafia, like and subscribe, please.
Yeah, guys, definitely go support Michael's channel, Red Creek Mafia. If you send me the link and I'll post it, man, I'll put it on my community tab. We'll get you some exposure for sure. That's awesome. Good for you. It's I'll tell you right now. For me, it's been really therapeutic, and I've met a whole lot of great people doing this. That's the best part. The friends you make and the people that you meet. It's really it's a blessing, and I think
Oh man, having Moorhead on that's
man,
speaks.
God, I was like a kid in a candy store that night, bro. I can't even play cool because I wasn't. I was I was so excited. That was such a crazy. I couldn't even believe it.
I've been talking about doing it for some time, but I'm gonna get the ball on because it's therapeutic and I want to help people too. This is helping me right.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's cathartic to be able to talk about it and to have other people confirm, that you're not the only one. That there's many more out there who are having these encounters and these experiences, and who are left with so many questions about, what's really out there in this world. Oh, look at Cashew already got you right there. How good is she? Boom, Red Creek Mafia. Go subscribe, go like, go hit the notification button, go support Michael, man. Yeah, she's the best. Cashew is the best. You know how we do it here, guys. We're all about lifting each other up, helping each other out. I believe truly in my heart that cooperating with each other and collaborating with each other and sharing each other's pages all the time. People have this attitude for whatever reason. I think in this community, like there's not enough room for everybody, and I think that's bull. There's more than enough room for everybody, and if we help each other to grow, we're doing this community a service by doing that, and so we'll support you, man. We got you back.
Does any of your listeners, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, go ahead. If you guys got any questions, shoot, man, go for it. This was I can't imagine what 30 minutes feels like.
It felt like an eternity.
Well, most people have a few seconds to a couple minutes at most, and they say it feels like an eternity. 30 minutes just must have been like mind-bending.
Didn't think I was going to get out of there alive.
I'm sure you didn't.
It didn't feel like that at all.
I'm sure you didn't.
And as far as like describing them things and stuff, like I said, I was more on defensive mode. I remember what I seen. If I can look at one from far away, it'd be better.
Yeah, I'm. You know what I was trying to do earlier? I was trying to find, and I did find some. I'm going to see if I can get it up on the computer so I can show you real quick before we finish this episode off. These pictures, the different face types of these creatures. I want to see if any of these look familiar to you. Yeah, let me see. Hold
on. Larry Batson, he drew my Bigfoot. I mean, he was close. I mean, he did a good job. It wasn't exact, but he did a pretty good job.
Yeah. It's very difficult what he has to do. You're asking a guy who's a great artist. He's a great artist. But you're putting such a time constriction on him to try to get this done in an hour and a half to 2 hours, right? And then not only that, but the other side of it is us we have to try to articulate to him what we saw. And if you're not an artist, it's very difficult to articulate that, to articulate the details in the right way to him. And so I think he does a great job. I just think that what he's trying to do is really difficult, really
Yeah,
difficult.
he's
Um,
it's for him, but he enjoys it.
yeah, and you're right. It is. It's very good for him,
I
especially.
tried to talk to him. If I tried to talk to him on the show, I did it on Carrie's show. It's Bigfoot Odyssey. It was Bigfoot Odyssey drawing Bigfoot with Larry Batson, and
Yeah,
he knows a few things. He just when I asked him if he ever had an encounter, he just like, man, he says, I'm neutral, man. I just really don't want to talk about it. Which that's okay,
yeah, sure. Not everybody's there yet. I get it.
Yeah.
Man, I'm trying to find this list, and I can only find the.
I got a picture, but the closest thing that I can come up with, I'll shoot it to you in a little while. Once
Yeah.
we
I
stop
would
it.
love to see, because I found one, and I posted it on my community tab not too long ago. That was really similar to what I saw the first time. Really similar. There was only a couple differences, and man, it's hard. It's really difficult to look at. Sometimes really difficult to look at when it's that close. Oof.
Have you ever found any have you ever found any prints or anything?
Yeah, I just found one 2 weeks ago. Yep,
Did it have
14 and 3/4 inches long, 6.5 inches wide.
Did it have the broken ridge in the middle?
Yeah, well, yeah, it had a big hump in the middle. Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
That's
Big
because
hump in the middle.
that's because of the way they walk.
Yeah, well,
How
they have that mid-tarsal break.
yeah, the mid-tarsal break. Our break is right at our toes,
Right.
right before the toes start. Theirs is in their arch. That's
Yep.
crazy, huh?
It's crazy, yeah. So, and what's funny is like I was doing a like kind of a little experiment about it all. So I took the picture, and I was taking, like, when I got home, I was taking my foot and I was stepping in like soft dirt, and looking at the difference. And the difference is crazy. I mean, it's so different, but it's very similar, but it's so different. So you see the whole outline of their foot perfectly, the whole outline. When I take a step, I don't see the whole outline of my foot. My foot
Right.
goes like, you see the heel, and then the outside, right? Then the front ball of the foot, and then it comes around and it comes in because of that arch. That arch doesn't touch the ground, right? So you're missing that whole big cutout where you have their whole foot, and then there's just a hump in the middle.
Well, the way we walk, we don't try to do it, but we walk more on the outside of our foot than the inside.
Oh yeah, I walk wicked bad on the outside of my foot, man. Really bad.
Yeah. I pretty much walk like a chicken too, dude. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. Oh,
all right,
man.
I'm gonna have to go now.
Well, listen, man, this was great. What an encounter. I really I don't know what to say. 30 minutes is just so long. And then to have what happened, a couple weeks ago, like, I feel like you're going to have a lot more stuff happening to you in the coming months and years. I just think that these things have some way of communicating. Once they see somebody or show themselves to somebody, I just think they have a way of communicating. I don't know how, but they do.
I think it has a lot to do. It has a lot to do with the same way we do it. I think that they talk amongst each other, and it can stretch for miles and miles.
Yeah,
and it's either that, or they're doing something sixth sense.
Well, yeah, that probably is. I bet you that's
more logical.
Bet you that's accurate. Either way, you'll have to let us know if you have more stuff going on. I'd love to hear about it, especially because
Oh yeah, I will.
that's more data to log into the system.
I'll once I get my channel up and stuff, I might be bringing you on. We'll see.
Hey man, anytime, you just let me know, brother. I'll help you out as much as I can.
Appreciate everything, man. And say one more time to your audience. Thank you for tuning in, and follow this guy. He's doing a really good job.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate that, man. You guys please sub to Michael's channel. There was a bunch of people in here who said they went and subbed already. So thank you guys so much for doing that. If you haven't subbed, go sub. Red Creek Mafia. What a great encounter, Mike. Thank you so much for being here. Guys, I'll be back on Saturday night with another encounter. Dax Rushlow had an encounter years ago in Vermont on a snowmobile on his way home. Really cool story, too. So make sure you tune into that. I'll post something tomorrow about it. You guys have a wonderful night. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Michael, for being here. I love you all. God bless. See you on the next one. Have a great night.